Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builders Supply, and this video is to bring you a closer look at the National Guard products. This is our part number 412 DKB, and this is a dark bronze saddle type threshold. This is a very common size, being 4 by 1/2 inch. So it's 1/2 inch tall, and it's going to be completely handicap compliant for two reasons. It doesn't exceed the overall height of 1/2 inch, plus the rise over run doesn't exceed the formula set out in the A117 document, which I'll show you where we have on our site so that you can refer to it. The only thing that might set this at a disadvantage would be the smooth top. I don't prefer smooth top thresholds because if you've ever walked over a threshold and your foot came out from underneath you a little bit, it's happened to me, and I would always prefer a fluted style. Why someone would want a a smooth type, in my opinion, it will only be for aesthetics, would be the only reason that I would have this. This happens to be going to a school. I would very much think that you would want a fluted top, is what I would probably suggest for that. So 412, this is literally 4 inch wide and 1/2 inch tall. You might see in the part number where that comes from, 412. So maybe a 512 is 5 inch wide. That's one great thing about the hardware industry, and I mean this in all sincerity, 1/2 inch tall. It's just logical the way that things are named. It's as if laziness guides the principles by which things are named. Why is an exit device called a panic device? Not a lot of imagination there, but it's brilliant in the sense that everyone understands what it is. So there you go. Keep it simple. The KISS method, K-I-S-S. Keep it simple, and you can fill in the rest. So 4 very typical aluminum storefront would be that sort of range. 4 and 9/16, 4 and 11/16, 13/16, whatever the jam depth is of an aluminum storefront. 5 inch or smaller, you'll see that material. The 1/2 inch tall is really good for that same application, but would also be good for a hollow metal door where the standard undercut is 3/4 inch. I don't see why this wouldn't be perfect for a fiberglass door. It's going to a school. These could be very heavy gauge hollow metal doors. They could be fiberglass doors as well, aluminum fiberglass type construction. This happens to be in the DKB finish, dark bronze anodized. Regrettably, to address the elephant in the room, dark bronze is not really protected very well from the factories when the material ships. So there are times when the material comes out a bit scuffed more than we would like. And the truth of the matter is, almost every manufacturer is susceptible to this sort of situation on dark bronze. Not all of them. There's one that is really great about it. But every other manufacturer, it's an issue. The logic is, it's a threshold. The first time you step over it with your shoe, you're going to scratch the dark bronze. I understand that. I get that. It will, of course, happen all but immediately. The client didn't pay for this, though. They paid for dark bronze. They didn't pay for scuffed dark bronze. And because it's so rampant in the industry, this threshold is just going to get shipped to the customer. And that's all there is to that. In terms of dark bronze, there's a range. There are some manufacturers that are very light, and then kind of standard, and then darker or very dark. I classify National Guard as darker. And, if you were to look at this, you might conclude that it's black. And the fact of the matter is, under the right lighting conditions, it does appear to be black. But when I hold it up against something that I know to be black, you can tell, well, yeah, you're right, it's not quite black. And depending on how the light hits it, you can tell that it's really a dark bronze. But this would be, in my estimation, considered an extra dark bronze, is what it would be from National Guard. I've had a client that we did a job. He had aluminum storefront, and we set him up beautiful thresholds, and he said, these are all too light. Well, it's dark bronze. Yeah, I know it's dark bronze, but they're all too light. Those were from this manufacturer. And when he sent me the sample of what he needed, I says, well, that's National Guard. That's what they're going to need. They're certainly darker. So be mindful, if you're looking for something that's darker, National Guard fills that requirement very, very well because it is darker. That's all there is to it. They're not as dark as others. Most people are grouped near the National Guard, right of center, but there is one it's quite left of center. Where are you going to use this? I said earlier, you know, any sort of application where you've got basically a 3/4 undercut, handicap compliance is required. 4-inch wide suits the conditions. I generally find 4-inch wide's a little too narrow, however, and the reason I say that is because what's the depth of your frame? You know, do you want the threshold to come up right to the inside of the frame? Would you want it to run wider than the frame? Do you want it specifically very narrow so it's only under the door? Do you want the frame so wide that you can cope the frame, cope it, C-O-P-E, around the profile of the jamb? It would be considered best practice in commercial applications on exterior doors that swing out that if you had a 3-foot door and 2-inch jambs, your threshold would be 40-inch wide, and you would cope that so that you can bring that protective area in front of the bottom base of the jamb, and you would have mitered returns there as well. You don't see that often because of the cost, but protecting the bottom portion of that frame is considered best practice. Absolutely it is. So, you know, this is a Swiss Army knife size. I don't like the smooth top, as I said. What I do like, though, very much is this grooved or even serrated sort of edge that's down here. Now, that's really helpful because when you go to install this, you pre-drill your holes. You've cut it to length, coped it, cut it, whatever you're doing. You've pre-drilled your mounting holes. You then will lay down a bead of caulk, let's say on the floor or on the threshold, and these serrations will not only get inside of there, but what happens in normal foot traffic, these sort of lateral pressures, pushing it back and forth, that helps to grip in and keep the threshold right in place where you want it to be. So I like all designs of saddle, half saddle, whatever it is, that have this sort of feature. Not all of them do from National Guard, but I believe, because we're so imaginative in the hardware industry, that they are there for a reason. They've probably found over time that that threshold is going to move. And what's that doing to the bolt? It's working that bolt loose. It's making that hole more ovalized. So they probably put those. This is a feature of the extrusion of the die set when the aluminum is extruded out. And they probably are doing that because they've seen failure over the decades, or a design concept that could be better than what it originally was. And speaking to that, I would put peel-away protective film on all dark bronze material is what I would do. I would have that as standard. Let's switch to the screen view now and take a closer look at some supporting documentation. Now, here is the item that we are indeed looking at. Everything that's here is, much of it is review. UL10B, UL10C, handicap compliant, handicap ADA compliant as well. There's a link here to the installation instructions. These are very generic documents from the factory. Measure, cut to size, cope, notch, attach, caulk, things of that nature. I wouldn't caulk. I wouldn't do it in this. I would put 3 after 4. I would caulk and then place the unit down, is what I would personally do. Then there is a link to the product brochure. And this is handy because it will allow you to review the other thresholds that you see. And yes, of course, a 412 and a 512. You see the difference? Variations on that material, on saddle thresholds. We're into the bronze ones, back to aluminum. These are 1/4 inch high, 1/2 inch tall that are fluted, and the one I would consider more common would be the 424 because it has a fluted top. 5 inch I think would be more common than 4 inch, but they do have all of these other widths as well, because it might simply be more appropriate for your application. Now this is going to include standard fasteners like 10 by 1/2 inch flathead wood screws with a Phillips drive and and a matching or compatible finish. That doesn't mean that's what you're going to need to install it. If it was me, I would be ordering this material with machine screws and lead anchors is what I would do, lead expansion anchors. Because that is a very robust means by which to secure the threshold to the sill condition. Now there is a link below this video here to the manufacturer's page. When we click on that, we'll be able to pull up not only all of the National Guard products that we sell by means of this horizontal navigation, but also a link to the manufacturer's website, as well as a link to the full product catalog. I would recommend that you review that. If you're not sure what you need, you can use the National Guard catalog as an idea or picture book just to help solve problems. They make gasketing out of, well, 4 materials, I suppose, but aluminum, stainless steel, and architectural bronze, or known as brass. You know, National Guard can cut, they can weld, they can create custom shapes as a result. So if there's something that you need, they can do it. I have had them, I did a project for a client where there were 2 openings, and each opening was like $8,000 because of everything that was thrown onto each door. Extremely heavy gauge door and frame. 12 gauge door, 14 gauge, 14 gauge door, 12 gauge frame. You know, the panic hardware alone was $4,000 because of all the electrification that was happening. It happened to be an extremely deep frame, like 14 or 16 inch. So what are you going to do? Put a 5-inch threshold, an 8-inch threshold? No. I had them weld a threshold to span the depth of that frame so that it looked correct, and that's exactly what happened. That link to the A117 document is here, and this is titled Accessible and Usable Buildings and Facilities. And if you were to do a find function on your keyboard for the word threshold, you're going to find all of the areas where it matches, and you'll be able to review the limitations, what's permissible in the public sphere when it comes to thresholds. Really handy document for that purpose. Let's wrap up this video on camera. Okay, in conclusion, a very good quality company, National Guard. I'm partial to them. I like their product line. I like their value. I like their technical service support. I like their customer service. Everything is, it's a good confluence of people who genuinely participate as equal ownership of supplying the material. They do a really good job. Their name is ubiquitous within the industry as well. If you have any questions on the National Guard 412 and a DKB, or any other National Guard product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you. Again, thank you for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please click thumbs up, please subscribe, and maybe even send the video to someone that you know. Thank you.